Hello. What's the subjunctive? Oh, tricky. Well, it is a mood. It affects the verb. It is not really used that much in English. It appears in very, very formal language. Now, how can you best remember what a subjunctive is? I think the very best image you can try to call upon is thinking about a moody verb at a very formal dinner party. Okay, a verb that is marked in some sort of way in a very formal environment. Now, in the following few minutes, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of what the subjunctive is. And we're going to start with some examples. So in our first example, it is essential that she attend. Attend is a verb in the subjunctive. She would be suitable if she were taller. Again, were in this case is a verb in the subjunctive. I would buy you a car if I were to win the lottery. Again, were is in the subjunctive. And if I were you, were again is in the subjunctive. Now let's look at these examples in a little bit more detail to see how the subjunctive functions and when it appears. So the subjunctive appears in cases where a need is expressed. And usually this need or desire is expressed in a so-called subordinate clause. So we start a sentence with something like, it is essential, followed by that, our subordinating conjunction, and then we have an element like she attend. In this case, I have underlined the subordinate clause, and attend in this case is in the subjunctive. Now you can see that this is very, very formal language. In informal speech, we would probably just say something like, it is essential that she attends. So attend would appear with the s that appears in the third person singular in the present tense. So this is a regular way, informal way of saying the same thing. Subjunctives are also used to express counterfactuality, which means something is not the fact, something is not the case. Okay? She would be suitable if she were taller. Again, I have underlined the subordinate clause, which in this case is introduced by if. And if she were taller indicates in this case that she isn't taller. It's not the fact that she is tall. Now, in informal speech, again, this would be expressed slightly differently. We would say she would be suitable if she was taller. Another way in which the subjunctive is used is to express doubt. So, I would buy you a car if I were to win the lottery. Again, I underlined the subordinate clause here, which again is introduced by if. And in this case, the speaker is pretty doubtful that he would ever win the lottery. Now, in informal speech, again, this would be expressed differently. It would be something like, I would buy you a car if I won the lottery. So we wouldn't use the subjunctive in that case. Right. The subjunctive is, however, quite frequent in some figures of speech. So stuff like, if I were you, people use that quite a lot. So in some formulaic expressions, in some figures of speech, the subjunctive still figures quite a lot in English. But otherwise, it's really something that is confined to very, very formal speech. Right, so in English, the subjunctive is rare. There is no real special form, so there's no verb form that has a particular ending because it is a subjunctive form, but rather the forms that are used to express the subjunctive are some forms that we have in the language anyway. And these are really old structures. The subjunctive is in a way disappearing. It's confined to very formal situations, and it has more or less left the spoken language. People don't speak that way. When we look at other languages, especially if you should learn French or Spanish, you will encounter the subjunctive everywhere. It's really frequent. It's used in the spoken language, and it is used very, very frequently in subordinations. So, a summary. The subjunctive appears in very formal speech in English. And this is usually confined to subordinate clauses when a certain wish, desire, doubt, etc. is expressed. So this can also include counterfactuality. And it also appears in some very common expressions such as, if I were you. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening.